together was a really fun experience for me. And then actually being able to listen to the presentation so far, I have learned a lot. And I'm really excited to share some information from a slightly different perspective, because there's a lot of tactile information, actionable items that you guys are going to go home with. And I wanted you guys to think about some things maybe through a different lens. So when you walk into your favorite coffee shop, when you walk into your favorite shoe store, or it could even be your favorite grocery store, wherever you go on a regular basis, the more you go, the more the people know you in those places. They greet you, they say hello, there's a warm welcome, they make you feel valued, they make you feel heard, they're willing to listen to you when you have something to say, whether it's a question or a conversation. And one of the things that they also do is they find ways to invite you back. And that's an in real life experience. And as technology changes and the way that we use this technology changes, we can start to have that same type of interaction in an online environment. And so it's a little hard to think about, especially when we're so action-oriented, when we're thinking about, you know, all of the things that we've got to do for our product and for our support and for marketing and SEO and all the website mechanics, and now I'm supposed to talk to people too? What the heck? What's that all about? So if any of you don't know me, my name is Jess, and I have been in the technology industry my entire career in some form or another. Some of you even know me from my very first appearance way back in 1998. I decided I was going to do this, and then I showed up at my very first SIC a few months later, and I didn't know a whole lot. And boy, did you guys teach me a whole bunch. And every single year since, I have learned a whole bunch, whether it's conversing with you outside of the conference, at other conferences that are like this one. And so I'm very grateful to be here with you today and to be able to talk to you about this topic. And I'm also grateful to be surrounded by other amazing presenters that have great information that really support everything we're going to talk about here. And it's really neat to see how all of the presentations really support each other. Everything that I've been to, I really like that piece of it. So these days, I find myself being a purposer. And those of you who have known me since forever, I have always been a purposer. I just didn't necessarily know what that name was. And what that means is I help people take their great ideas and I give them a different type of meaning to really expound on what that potential is. Because when you come up with an idea, you have this end goal and you have these actions that you take. And sometimes you don't get the results you want. And it's not because the idea is necessarily bad. It could be a whole bunch of other factors. And so today when we're talking about conversations, that's what we're going to be thinking about. And it's really all about being at the right place at the right time. And when we're thinking about that, how we do things today is different than how we did things a year ago, which is very different than how we did things 3 years ago, which is like a whole eon ago for 10 years ago. And so it's the same race though. We still have the same marketing principles that apply to everything that we are doing. And one of the things that we have today is that the odds are in our favor. As everything becomes more mainstream, as consumers have the opportunity to use technology more, we have less to do. They can find us a lot easier. They can give us the opportunity to reach out and connect with them in new ways than ever before. We don't have to rely on anybody else but ourselves. That is also, I mean, there are two sides to that coin. That means we actually have to be there to allow people to talk back to us, and we have to want to be there to talk back to them. So all of the metrics and all of the ways to measure, those are so important. And as important is the who. Who is actively talking to you? Who is actively coming to your website? Who are you actively targeting? And that's our first question. Who's our customer? And one of the things that I know that has come up several times is, well, you know, we've got to have a buyer persona. And so we sit down and we go, who's my ideal audience? It's a woman in her mid-30s with kids, and she's on Facebook a lot. And so when is, you know, and we've got to go a little bit beyond that though. We need to know, when does this mom who's 35 actually have time to be online to see my messages? What are the driving factors for her to come looking for your product? And one of the things that Raz talked about was, what is the motivator? And knowing that motivator is really good, and you need to then build a life around them. So I talk about character customer profiles, and that is a fake person that has many traits of many different people within the target market segment that you are working with. And you put a face on them, and you actually have them. I have mine posted in my office. They're in a file, and anytime I'm making business decisions, I'm pulling out my character customers and going, does this decision help you? Does this help you find me better? Does this allow me to have a conversation? And that person, depending on their answers, is representative of everybody in that target market audience. And I'm going to tell you the story of Marjorie. Marjorie is a wonderful woman that I work with, and she is a writer. We went through this very exercise of character customer profiles, and she brought 2 profiles to me, and they were beautifully written. They were full, detailed lives, histories, what made her target audience today, who they are, and want to be connected to her. And one of the profiles, and so she gave me both of the profiles, and I read them, and I looked at them, and I started asking some business-related questions. So now you've given me all this stuff. What's the value proposition for them to come to your website and read your content? And I asked, what is the value to them? Why, and when? When is this person going to come? Are they going to come when they have, she's an inspirational writer, so are they going to come, are people going to come to you in the middle of the afternoon after lunch when they're trying to get through their afternoon? Are they going to be somebody on the Saturday afternoon, they've closed themselves off and they've had a cup of coffee and they're catching up online and they're looking to do whatever they do when they're reading their inspirational material? And what we found out was that one of the 2 character customers was actually not her target market. She made this wonderful profile. We asked all of these business-related questions, and we actually she had a job to do. She had to go back and say, well, the content and the plan that I have doesn't really support this person over here. So what am I going to do with that? And I'm really a big fan of having in and out crowds. And profiles are important. Target markets are amazingly important. And it's just as important to go through the exercise to find out who is not your customer as who is your customer. And sometimes it's easier to say who's not my customer, and what's left is what you can work with. And why do we even care about that? We care about that because we only have so many hours in the day. We're wearing so many hats, and we're doing all of these different things that we have to maximize our time. And we have to maintain loyalty and a reason for people to want to come back and talk to us. A conversation came up this weekend that Dexter was telling me about. He was telling me he doesn't send out a lot of newsletters to his client base. And the last newsletter he sent out, I believe he said it was May. I may have the date wrong. What was interesting, though, was that people who are using his software were interested to hear from him. And even though the software that he is supporting and selling is a desktop software, 30% of the people that opened that newsletter were opening it from a mobile device. So here is something. People are interested in staying in touch with Dexter. They want to know the new information that he has for them, but they're not at their desktop when they do it. And so it's neat to be able to have conversations with people when they're on the go and taking that into consideration. The other thing is, how many emails do you actually read a day versus delete? Honest question. I delete probably 55% of my emails without ever even looking at them. And it's pretty sad. And that was even after I went through and I unsubscribed from all the stuff that doesn't actually provide me value. So if you guys are in any way, shape, or form like me, we don't have time to read our email. And that's just one aspect. What about when we're online and we go to do something online and we're like, oh yeah, we should check out and see what's trending on Google and take a look and see if there's a conversation that you would like to be a part of. Well, when you're doing that, it's easy to get distracted, and we need better and better filters over time. And we filter very well for what we're doing, and so do our clients. So do the people we're trying to reach that we don't know yet. Our BS meters are pretty darn good, and they're going to get better and better and better. So how do we actually stand out amongst all of the filtering? And that takes us to Question number 2. What about the competition? What about the competition? What do they do? And we don't need to know what they do in terms of features because we need to have the same features. We need to know what they're doing because we need to see what's not being done and read between the lines and find the opportunity to be different. And how are we going to do that and provide value in a new way? Because if we go out and we're just like everybody else, we all have the same features, we all have the same everything, you know what happens? Price pressure. It drives the price pressure down. Features only and a feature-only approach will drive the pressure down. And when we're online, in real life, what do we expect? We don't stand next to each other in these conferences and not talk. We actually have conversations. We take the time to learn about each other and listen. And so we've got to be real. And when we're thinking about this, I'm going to talk about specifically BlackBerry and Adobe for a minute because I think that these are two very good examples. Large companies, and by the way, one of the things that Gary said that I thought was really awesome yesterday was that you don't have to be, large businesses can be just as nimble as small businesses. It's all in the decisions that you're making and how you choose to make those decisions. And that fits in so well with this because Adobe, they decided that they're not going to support Flash anymore. Right? They've made this decision to move on to other things. And there's all this controversy, Apple won! Was that really the case? Maybe from some perspectives. But another perspective is that they sat down and they looked at their market share. They looked at the fact that apps are now coming with their own devices to play this rich media. It's becoming easier and easier and easier and more commonplace for all of this rich media to be accessible as people are using their phones. So you didn't need to have 2 steps. And you don't need to have 2 steps anymore. You have all of it bundled together. And so what Adobe has decided to do is they have decided to shift their energies into all of the existing products and all of the existing communities and to new opportunities for other things. And then let's think about BlackBerry, another great big ship. It takes a while to turn a big ship. And they chose not to turn. And they chose not to see what was going on. And they passed the point of no return. And what happened? Tell me, what happened? That's right. Think Titanic, an iceberg, right? I mean, the point of no return is important. And that can happen to us even being small businesses. We can stick a stake in the ground and go, we're just not going to change. So sorry. Or what we can do is we can go, okay, we know what our competition is doing, we know how the industry is changing, and we can actually think outside the box to see what's going to happen next. I mean, just look at the evolution of our own industry right here. We started out in catalogs with discs shipped out to people. Then we had these great websites like 2Cows and CNET and Windows95.com that we went to because they needed content, but they took the time to find the eyeballs to get in front of our stuff. And then it became easier for us to get to the end consumer and the potential client ourselves. So the model started to change. And now the consumers have more and more opportunities and different ways to interact with the world around them, which means we get to change again. So what makes us different? We've got to think about the importance of what makes us different. And I'm going to use 2 really big names, and some of you are going to roll your eyes, some of you may stand up clapping. Both of these have one thing in common, and it's the piece that I like the best that ties 2 very different approaches together. The first is Jeff Bezos. How many Jeff Bezos fans do we have in here? I'm a big, big fan of Jeff Bezos. You know why? He can take anything and make it an amazing experience to buy. He revolutionized the buying process and how that works. And he made the support for that pretty darn amazing. I mean, think about what he just did in relationship to the new Kindle. You get that new Kindle Fire with that in-app help 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You have a problem, you press a button, and within 15 seconds you get a live picture of somebody's face right there to walk you through what's going wrong on your system, on your Kindle right there. Hello. How amazing. He is providing excellent service by making it easy for people to use the software and the products and whatever else happens to be sold through Amazon. Now, who can guess the other person I'm going to mention? Yes! How did you know? But it's true. It's absolutely true. Technology, is supposed to be pretty and easy to use and intuitive. So what did he do? He designed a company that creates amazingly simple, easy to use programs and infrastructure and software and applications for all of us to use that we don't have to have as much technical support. In the end, both of them are providing an experience. In the end, they are both providing a unique level of service that differentiates them from anybody else in that marketplace out there. Which takes us to how are we different? How can we be different? By the way, this is my absolute favorite picture in the entire world. Because depending on the day, maybe the time of day, maybe the second in the conversation I'm having with you, I might feel like an apple or an orange or a lemon or a pear. I don't know. And that's one of the things that allows us to really connect with who's out there. Because as the marketplace changes, are we willing to be open to that difference? Are we willing to be open to the need to adapt and know when that is so we can set the pace and we can set the trend for our customers? So if one of our competitors does it, what do? We have to run around and try and catch up and add the feature, add the service so we can at least do what they're doing. That's hard. It's hard to do that. So if we already have all of the data at our fingertips from our businesses and from the conferences that we attend and from the groups that we are a part of and the people that we connect with, we can see those trends coming and we can make proactive business decisions that are able to help us make effective business decisions so that we can stay active and involved and embrace everything that's coming, which comes to our digital footprint. And when we're thinking about our digital footprint, a lot of the different things that we were talking about come on board. And our digital footprint is going to be more than just who we are in our business. It's going to be more than just our business. It's going to be who we are when we talk to people in any public forum out there, whether that's a social media site, whether that's commenting on a blog, whether that is contributing in a public forum of other developers. And we also talk to people differently, don't we? When we are talking to our peers, we use a very different vocabulary and a different approach, and we are willing to ask questions in a way that we are not willing necessarily to do when we're talking to potential and current clients. To other people, we are using expertise to grow when we're talking to our peers and our colleagues. When we're talking to our clients, we have a very different relationship. We are the expert, and if we're doing things to set ourselves apart and having the conversations and sharing the information in a way that allows us to be established that way, we can create our own network of people that allows us to be different in this marketplace. Now, by doing that, by having this digital footprint and when I say personal versus personal, do you know what I mean? Wait, personal versus personable. Do you know what I mean by that? No. Okay, no. So we got some yeses and some no's. So those of you who said yes, please feel free to add to this description. So personal. I'm 35 years old. I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old. I am married to a fabulous man going on, oh man, I can't even do the math, at least 14 years. And I live in Washington. And you guys, when you talk to me, I might tell you some of the trials and tribulations and some of the successes. That's very personal. Versus personable, being able to come up and have a conversation and smile and look you in the eye. If I know you and I've met you before, from me, you're definitely going to get a hug. And we get to connect on a totally different level, right? One is a little bit more demographic. One is very real. You now know and know about me, so you can ask me questions, but you can also engage me to learn how can information that I have might be able to help your other customers. And it is that level that brings us to why we're different and what we can be unique about it and how we use some of this stuff to be different. I'm going to use an example. I'm going to use Scott as an example, and Scott has a burger joint. And this burger joint decided that all of the customers said, oh, it would be so cool if you would just be different and offer organic, free range, whatever meat and products in addition to your regular menu. And so he was hearing this for so long, what did he decide to do? He said, okay, well, I'm going to try this out. But I'm not just going to jump in the deep end. I'm going to kind of stick my toe in. I'm going to make sure I have my floaties on. We're going to just see how this goes. So he introduces one organic burger with organic products all the way around. And He does all the press for it. He does press releases. He invites the local news. He has the newspapers come. He does meetups. He talks about it on social media. He tells all of his people that come regularly, I'm listening to you. We're doing this launch. And you know what happened? He launched it, and his business increased. It exploded, in fact. He doubled his sales. But you know what happened? After watching the sales for 90 days and then going back and analyzing, he found out that organic hamburger with all good ingredients was the least ordered thing on the menu. Okay, so he left it on the menu because his sales never declined. They went up and they stayed up. He had this option that helped people feel like they were connecting to something that they believe in and care about. But nobody ordered it for whatever reason, and there are probably a lot of reasons for that. So what are the things that you can actually do without going hook, line, and sinker to be different, to help yourself, help people feel good about what they're doing, and actually touch them at a personal level in your life? And you're going, seriously, I sell software. How can my software help people at a personal level? Well, there's a reason you made that software. You needed a problem solved. You needed something that was not out there in a way that had not been created yet for the exact reasons that you decided to create that product. That is what is going to help you connect at a personal level with other people. So taking your character customer profiles and doing that is going to be a very big piece of the plan that you put together for your long-term success. Do you know what's missing from this picture? What big thing in our business is not in this picture? And yes, customer, product, and where do you put your product? Your website. Your website's not up here either. Because we know how to do those things. I put this together specifically because these are the new opportunities that we have to do that. And I include advertising as a very big, broad topic, because there is advertising that we probably do to drive people to our website, but there are new and unique ways that we can do that, and new and unique opportunities of how we connect with those people. So when I think about platforms, I really consider our website to be our main platform. So, Facebook is a platform, Google is a platform, YouTube is a platform, and wherever we put that content, it's out there. How we use those platforms to get people back to our own, the one that we are in control of, so that we can create things like landing pages and campaigns and take people that are strangers that might be interested in us, get them to our website in a way that will actually make them known to us, get them onto our Facebook page and make them fans, get them to become known to us. How can those unknowns become knowns? And you know what I found over the years? I say the years, it's like I've been doing this forever. Social media hasn't even been around that long. So let me rephrase that. You know what I've seen in the latest trend, and that would be that people connect to me or look at me on LinkedIn and then on Google, and they might see a YouTube video, and they might see my Hangout, they might see my website, and then they might send me an email, or they might sign up for my newsletter. So this digital footprint that I talk about, and how the message that I am putting out there consistently, slightly different, same core message, but based off of the audience, gives people that are checking me out an opportunity to learn who I am and what I'm about before they make themselves known to me. And that is our opportunity, the transparency, the window, the see-through window. It's not like we're just pushing stuff out and we can't see who it is anymore. We can push stuff out, and if we do it in a compelling fashion, they're going to want to connect to us. They're going to understand the value that we bring to them. So we talk about it across many channels, and we have many conversations, and we're leaving the door open. And I'm going to give you an example of another company that I think started with a great platform, and then of course they became part of another big company, and that would be Zappos. And notice I'm using technology-related things, and there are direct things that we can learn from them right here in this room for our businesses, no matter how small or no matter how big, right here in this room. And when we think about Zappos, what does Zappos sell? I'm surprised a room full of men knows that. Yes! Okay, so Zappos sells shoes. And do you know what the experience they're selling is? Awesome customer service. What other experience are they selling? Fast delivery. They're also they're also now slightly in the media world, in addition to those two things. So first, they had to have amazing service, and they had to have a way for all of us people out there who lost all of the stuff you were supposed to put back in the box to send back to Zappos when we didn't like the shoes, by the way, for free. What a cool thing that nobody else did. So you send your shoes back and you forget all of this stuff. Zappos had to become a technology platform and incorporate a whole bunch of different processes that are not necessarily related to shoes that actually really help them in their business. And that was to be able to receive a return and process it in a timely manner so that their customers stayed happy about the service after they returned the shoes, in addition to the service they received before and during the shoe buying process. Okay? The other piece of that is the media piece. In addition to writing reviews, which is very engaging and it's very interactive, they have pictures of shoes from every angle. You can see the sole of a shoe on Zappos before you buy it. It never occurred to me I would want to see the sole of the shoe, the part that's always on the ground, but hey, then I was like, wow, I guess I did want to know what that's all about. And they have videos. People can upload videos of themselves wearing these shoes to share with other people interested in these shoes. So they have created a community around this shoe fetish of men and women that we have, and they're using this technology. Whew. It's great I have good soles. I stuck right there. And so what does that mean? That means that sometimes we have to look, we know what our core business is, and we know we need to incorporate other things to create the experience we want. We need to make time so that we can think through some of these things to think about that experience. And for us, it could be all kinds of things. It could be, whatever we're really good at. I mean, one of the things that Raz said that I really liked was, I know you know how to code a website. WordPress makes it easier, so you might really want to consider that as an option. Save yourself some headaches. I loved that because what you're doing something you don't now have to be an expert on and keep up to date necessarily yourself. From the technical side, you are using other people's experience and expertise to help you with that, frees up some time to have a great product, a great experience, a great presentation, and you have time to do other things. That could also be true for, whoever you're using to sell with, whoever you are using to advertise through, what other companies that you bring in for their expertise. All of that comes down to allowing you to have time to make your platform. Because in today's world, I really think that Zappos is one of my favorite examples for how do you create an experience and how do you add some of these other things to differentiate yourself. Now, and by the way, who bought Zappos? Amazon bought Zappos. Also awesome customer service. So, we surround ourselves with like-minded people. So that means we've got to think about how can we listen? How can we figure out what our customers are talking about that they might not even know would be a really good experience if you could provide it for them. And then they're like, wow, this company, they answered all of my needs. They answered all of my needs and I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't have to complain. I didn't have to go on Twitter and gripe and gripe and gripe and hope somebody was monitoring it to fix my problem. Because ultimately, that's not what we want. We want a proactive one, not a reactive situation anywhere online with our platform. And so when we're thinking about this, it's almost like at one time, for us, mastery of our art. And for you guys, it is different for me. Mastery of my art was realizing that I'm a purposer and that my job is to help each and every one of you and every person that I choose to come in contact with know that they are a star and figure out how to best shine and reach the people and receive fulfillment from having the product that you sell and bring to the community that you are trying to work with and connect to. That's my purpose, and that's a really cool purpose. Your purpose and the reason you coded your product or have the service that you have or decided to be in the area of the industry you have is very unique to you. And so you have the opportunity with all of your knowledge to figure out how to respond to different people. And there's a quote that I snagged from the Experience Economy. And when I say we, I mean people, not us. I mean the people that we're trying to connect to. We want to transform ourselves and be different. The person, so we want something more lasting than merely buying a product. We want something beyond the product. And that comes from the Experience Economy. That book was written maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and it's one of my favorite books. it lends credence to when we were having the SEO conversation yesterday, and it was definitely not an action-oriented, task list thing to do conversation. All different aspects of business came into it. Branding came into it. You know, strategy came into it. And so that is relevant when we're actively listening. How can we take advantage of that? And once you think about all that, our fourth question is, how do you be consistent doing this? How can you be consistent? And these are the places where automation can come into play. This is the part you guys like. I'm going to automate it, set it, and forget it. I know some of you wish you could go, okay, I've got that wife program, turn it on. Right? Or I've got that kid program, turn it on, and they're going to just turn around and they're going to do whatever I want. It's going to just be this nice, shiny world. Well, it doesn't work with our wives. It doesn't work with our families. It doesn't really work with our friends. Do you think it's going to work with your customers? No. No, it doesn't. So there are a couple of different ways to be consistent when you're thinking about how do you create content. How do you create content and share content and provide additional content as part of the experience? Now, this is my version. Okay, I'm going to share two other versions with you. Some of you may have heard the 80-20 rule when it comes to creating and sharing content, which is 20% of what you push out should be promotional and 80% should be content. My problem with that one is that it doesn't say what that content should be, and I don't think we in our own businesses have the resources nor necessarily the desire, because we're not writers, we're not creators of content, we're creators of amazing, awesome product and an experience around that product. So then there's another one that's called the 60-20-20. Where we talk about contact where there's 60% proactive engagement, 20% relevant content, and 20% promotion. So again, I like that because the proactive engagement piece could be your content that you're engaging response to. It could also be other people's content that you like that's relevant to the same audience that you're building in whatever community that you have. I did it a little bit differently, and my numbers don't add up to 100% on the lowest, and I was expecting somebody to shout that out. And those of you who know me really well know math is not my strong point. But the idea being is somewhere in here you need to make your 100% and you have wiggle room. And the reason I did it like this, besides some of those, is that even within, I'm going to go back to the character customer profile, those target audiences. Within each of those audiences, the way you communicate across those audiences is going to be similar, but it will not be exact. Sometimes you will need to change it up a little bit, and that message is going to need to be a little different in presentation here than it is for this group, and then it is for this group over here. And if you have 6 or 10 or 12 or 20 different character customer profiles and target audiences that you're working with, that becomes really hard. And it's like, okay, so thinking about it in this way, 20 to 30% of everything that you share out there should be content that you create. And that content that you create is about the experience that you are providing and bringing to your customer. That experience could be a new feature release. That experience could be an update. That experience could be a case study about how this actually helped one of your customers. It could also be, and then you think about the business, the 10 to 20%, that's promotion, where maybe you get a really awesome email from somebody and you tweet that. Maybe you have somebody that posts something on your Facebook fan page that's really amazing, and you reshare that out as yourself, and then you also highlight that on your business page. There are a lot of different ways to work in promotion without actually having to do sales or other things, and that's one thing that I wanted to make sure of. For some of us, if we have a physical local presence, something like Yelp is amazing. For those of us who have no geographic boundary, locally, that becomes a little harder. So how can you incorporate some of that feedback? So break it down to your workflow. That's what it comes down to. And the more you do this and the longer you do this, you create influence. People look to you for information. And if they're not ready to buy the product, but they know of you and they receive some communication through any one of the channels that build your platform, they're going to share it with somebody that might help them. So the job today is not to just have it out there and let the software sell itself while we sleep. The job today is to have that software out there to sell when we sleep. And our job has actually become the opportunity to have a conversation at all times online. Now that doesn't mean we have to, you guys are probably more plugged in than I am when it comes to being online. We all have to have our downtime, but that means being online, having proactive conversations. And there's another phrase that I think Scott told me I phrased this. You can't post and run. If you're going to put up a piece of content and you're expecting engagement, you better stay there. You better do it while you're eating lunch at your desk, pushing out this content to have these conversations. Because if you share something and then 3 hours goes by and somebody has shared sometime in the first 10 minutes and you don't respond to them, they're kind of like, well, where did you go? Where did you go? So it's almost like, you know, when you call somebody and you're kind of hoping for their voicemail and you pick that time because you might get their voicemail. But it's, you know, same idea is if you're going to post something, be there because somebody might want to talk to you. And if you miss the opportunity to talk to that person, you miss the opportunity to create a prospect. And that prospect could be somebody that buys your product. That prospect that might know somebody that knows thousands of people that might be interested in your product. How do you know unless you're there? And some of the content will overlap. I mean, when I reuse some of my favorite blog posts that get the most traffic and the most comments over time. I do make new content all the time, but I don't make as much content because I am reusing my old content that still is relevant. It's called evergreen, so it's good. It's like this timeless, I'm talking to a room full of men, whatever. Okay, Mary, this one's just for you. It's like the timeless fashions when we think of like Jackie Kennedy or somebody like that, where it doesn't matter what era you put them in, they look amazing in what they're wearing. And so you can make content like that. So if you have a slow, steady accumulation of a library of information and you are able to share that in new and unique ways across multiple platforms to reach people, it gives you the opportunity to keep that door open. So the 5 things that you can do today: Google Alerts, monitor social sites. You don't necessarily have to comment on them or be out on them if you don't want to. Definitely be able to monitor them. Know what trends are affecting your products. So you go out of your way to find things to stay abreast of what your competitors are doing, of what the things in the industry are that affect how your product works, and what people using your product are going to experience or start wanting to know. The other thing is, you know, watch the news. What is going on nationally and internationally that is going to affect technology? What are the trends that are coming? And put that seed in your brain so as you continue to hear more and more, ideas will bubble up on their own about how to take advantage of the coming changes before you get stuck a little bit in this crunch time going, oh, it's here. What do I do? And then the last one is talk to people. Talk to people. And that means not only are you sharing your content out, like what on the slide just previously, that means you are going to other people's websites, other people's social sites, other people's places, and leaving your name and some item of value there, which is not a link to your website. It's, yes, I agree with you and here's why. Or, here's how that topic could be expanded. Or, wow, here is a relevant article, not that I wrote, that somebody else wrote, that also adds to this conversation. Do you see what I'm doing? It's how I've talked to each and every one of you that's sitting in this room so far, at least one point in the conversation today. And in the conversation over the weekend. And that we do with each other when we're having those conversations. So sometimes it's really easy to forget that there's a person on the other side of that technology. And that's where it comes to building your own network. This is just a small selection of people that I look to and lean on for industry knowledge, continued learning, answers to my questions about different things, so that I can take what I need to know to the people that I am targeting. And the same goes for you guys. This group, the ASP and ISVCon, it exists for us to come together to be this type of group, to brainstorm, to have connections, to walk away and have a lasting relationship that really help us. And so build a network of specialists, because then you don't have to be the expert in everything. You need to be the expert in what you do, and you can call on and lean on the other people that have their specialties, and together you make a great big collaborative team, and you come together when there's something to collaborate on, and you go about your business when you're not, and everybody has their own business and is super duper, super duper productive. And by the way, one of the things that does is when we were, the SEO piece, we talked about Google authorship. And we talked about, these are people that I share their content with across my network and all of the people that I work with. So if you start following me in any of the places that I'm at, you will see stuff from these people. And together, we are raising the awareness of the information that we have at our disposal that would be of interest to you, and why you might want to call out and ask us questions now and again. It's the Wild West. I should have put like myself in a rodeo hat or something with spurs on and stuck it up here as a picture. When we're thinking about the 4 questions, though, it really is the Wild West all over again. There are a lot of tactics out there for land grab, people grab, attention grab, and slow and steady really does win the race. So when we're thinking about our business and there are so many new things coming at us all the time, let's take a step back and let's think about, okay, my character customer profiles. If what I'm going to do does not help me reach them, identify them, get them to talk to me so that I can build a relationship that will lead to some sort of a sale or a future sale, it's not for me. What's my competition doing? Because that's the baseline. I need to do at least what my competition is doing, and then I need to look at what's not being done and find out how to be different. And then I need to go, okay, now that I know those 2 things, how can I create an experience around this that my competitors cannot duplicate? It is me and me alone that is filling this space. I say me, my company, my team. What I mean by me. And then how can you create processes to deliver a consistent information? Because people will start looking for you. And if you're not consistent, something else is going to fill that void in their space. It fills up really fast. Fills up, it's like, oh, I don't even have a one for that. It's all fine. So in the end, though, and I'm going to want, value is not in the message. Value is in how you choose to connect. It's your secret sauce. So what works for Jerry is not going to be what works for Larry, which is not going to be what works for Keith, which is not going to be what works for Tom, which is not going to be what works for Yutaka, or any of us in this room. And the other thing I will say here is size doesn't matter. Size does not matter. I got one look. Oh, I got more than one? I only saw one? All right. So if I have 10 people that I know across all of the places that I choose to be online, and I choose to talk about my products and services and related content, and sometimes even unrelated content because it's fun and exciting and it's something different. If I've got 10 people that listen to me and share out my things, that is way better than having a network of 1,000 people or 10,000 people that don't share at all, because I've already got my advocates. So if you're a little nervous about this, just remember, it's all in the value, and starting small is okay, because we all have big dreams, and one step at a time will get us there. And when you are ready for each one of those steps, somebody in this room knows how to do what you want to do and where you want to go, and talk about an amazing network of people that you can talk to, in person and online, even after the conference. So keep that door open to connect. Look for them. And one of my favorite people in the entire world is Will Smith. He is somebody who, it doesn't matter if you see him in his role as a dad, as an actor, as a famous person, or just as a person, there is a consistency about him. He is authentic. He is personable. You know about him, so you know a little bit of personal, and you always know what you're going to get. You always know what you're going to get in a conversation. His message is clear. And that is something that I look to in every day when I'm trying to do my business and do my work and contribute to society as a whole and my family and otherwise. Consistency and present. If you do it and you're not present, people will realize that and they're going to go, oh, there's all that stuff, they tune you out. So keep that in mind, because it doesn't have to be difficult. This is hard work. This is really, really hard work, but it's not difficult. It just takes time, and it's not something that you can set and forget. It's not something that you can do once. This is regular business review and regular trend watching that really helps you set yourself apart. And so one of the things that you know is that Technology is going to evolve. How we work with our clients is going to evolve. So how are you going to stay relevant to them as that happens? How are you going to continue to have that connection and keep that door open so that the next phase that comes after these wonderful mobile devices, you still have a place and a message that will carry over into that space as well. Thank you very much, and I would like to, if you guys, well, I got looks and I did get some interaction stuff going on throughout the presentation. Do you have any questions for me? It is officially right before lunch. Well, thanks very much. I'll talk to you guys all over there.